Hey dudes. So, I thought I would talk about the left a little bit because I consider myself to be a liberal and I've considered myself to be one since I was about a teenager. And it was probably because of my love of Jon Stewart and NPR. And don't go thinking I was indoctrinated into being a liberal. My mom considers herself to be an independent, and my stepdad's a Republican. It's a good chunk of my childhood where right wing radio was on a lot in the car and house. I've tended to lean left because a lot of the things I tend to care about in terms of politics are healthcare, education, the environment, and economics. A Republican may say, a liberal that cares about economics, don't be a liberal then. And to you, Mr. Imaginary Right Winger in my head, I would say trickle down economics or Reaganomics does not work, you fucking idiot. You may have heard the phrase, or something like it, reality has a well known liberal bias. And when you consider that liberal means open to new behavior and willing to discard traditional values, it's easy to see how true that statement rings. When we look throughout history, we can see that sticking to some traditional values was pretty detrimental to humanity. It's thanks to liberalism, Americans have rejected traditions like racial segregation and homophobia. As a liberal, I think everyone deserves the same dignity and treatment, regardless of their skin color, religion, sexuality, or whatever have you. People should be judged on their words and actions, not the things out of their control. It's also why I call myself a humanist and egalitarian. I say all this because there's a segment of the left that's very embarrassing to me, and I'm guessing other liberals. You may have heard of the terms neoliberalism or regressives or social justice warriors, and that's what I'm referring to. I know I may look like one with this hair, but don't be like them and judge by appearances. I mention that because I've noticed that many SJWs use the argument that you're not allowed to speak on certain topics if you're a certain skin color or gender or what have you. For example, I, as a middle class white atheist, can't say that things like the burqa or hijab are repressive and awful, and that Islam is an awful religion and not a religion of peace, because my white privilege shields me from understanding the culture I'm talking about. The far left tend to value feelings over logic, and in the short term, feeling good is nice, but I think logic, which can sometimes not feel so good, like in the short term, is better in the long term for humanity. Cultures won't have any pressure to reform if we demonize those who criticize them. Shutting down speech that makes you uncomfortable, says you're wrong, or could hurt somebody's feelings should not be venerated. Instead of jumping to name calling and screaming like children,
Oh no! Oh, we should film it. Oh no! Oh no!
we should listen to what somebody has to say and form a decent counter argument if we find something illogical or just wrong with what they're saying, and say it in a proper manner. The safe spaces that the far left seems to be in favor of is the epitome of confirmation bias and intellectual dishonesty. I mentioned the fact that I grew up listening to right wing radio, and I think it's one reason I got so into this sort of stuff. I used to catch myself arguing with the radio a lot, and it made me angry and frustrated, but I think it also made me very passionate about my views. I still look into things from various points of view for that reason. I like to hear liberal opinions, but after a while it gets pretty boring being in an echo chamber. I've been called hateful and racist for some of my views on religion, and at this point, I've gotten used to the name calling. I think many sensible liberals like myself are being pretty quiet because of fear of being demonized, like the far left tends to do, where they quickly name call and shut down the conversation. And I've realized that after a while, you just gotta take the hate, and let them make themselves look stupid. Because most of the time they don't actually have good points to make and are, like what I said, just being bullies and acting like children. So, there you have it, folks. I'm tired of liberalism being dragged through the mud and looking stupid because of these regressives or SJWs. Like this if you liked it, subscribe if you're not already, and later, dudes.